Hello and welcome to this tutorial on the quick start of the fly-by-wire A320NX in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. We're here at Manchester on the apron. You can see it's a nice sunny day, so you can tell I've not got live weather on, as if this was live weather the chances are it would be absolutely chucking it down in Manchester. If you've been there you'll completely understand what I mean. What we're going to go through today then is quickly how to start up the A320NX. Now obviously there are different options available. You can use the checklist, you can either do evaluation on the checklist, going step by step. You can do autocomplete on the checklist, but it will still require some interaction, or you can do this sort of skip step in order to get the aircraft ready to a point where it's good to move from the ramp. Okay, so we're going to jump inside the cockpit now. What you can see here is obviously it's all dark, all the screens are off. If this was nighttime it'd be very dark here and you'd be relying on external light sources to see what you're actually doing, so keep that in mind when you're selecting where to start with the aircraft. Alright, so as I said, you can go to the top and check the checklist. It's a huge checklist and it runs all the way to landing and then either emergencies at the bottom. Okay, but all we're going to do is we're basically going to cover these first 5 steps here to the point where we're ready to move. Alright, but we're going to do it very quickly. You can obviously, as I said, you can go through, you can either click evaluation and do step by step. You will have to click a few buttons and do things in there. Or you can do autocomplete page, again you still have to click buttons. Or we can ignore this checklist and just do this quick start. So, first thing that's important to make sure you've got is external power. This aircraft will not start without the external power, so you must have external power. Okay, in this form we've got a ground power unit there. It's not currently connected, but the game still registers we have got external power. I think in most cases, if the aircraft requires external power, it will be available, even if you've not got a ground power unit there. So all we're going to do first is turn on external power. Okay, we're then going to turn the batteries on. Okay, you can hear all the fans starting up now. And what we need to do now is we need to ensure that the aircraft is powering itself. To do that we need to turn on the APU. So I'm going to start by pressing APU bleed, APU master and start. Okay, if I then look at the screen at the bottom here, this is the APU starting now. Okay, this is imperative to make sure we can actually turn on the engines. Okay, we cannot turn the engines on until the APU is running at full capacity. And basically all we're waiting for is this percentage sign to get to 100%. Okay, so that's starting up now and it will say APU avail there or something similar along those lines. Alright. So just to show you what we're actually starting there, that is the power unit in the back of the aircraft. You can hear that spooling up now. And that will allow us to power the actual aircraft itself. At the moment the engines are still completely stationary, bar a little bit of wind turning the turbines there. But you can hear that starting up, and that will allow us to start the engines. So we need to keep an eye on this. Nearly there now. Obviously at this point, while you're waiting for this, you could start planning the MCDU and putting in your flight plan, things like that. Okay, there are other things to ensure needs to be done. For instance, the map is currently not available. To get that available you need to make sure that basically the GPS is on nav. Okay, and now what you see is IR inner line 7 minutes, so that takes 7 minutes to start up, and that will be meaning 7 minutes your map will be available there. Okay, so we're nearly there with the APU. Once we're at 100% and that's available, we will then look to start the actual engines. Obviously in reality, if you are going to start this aircraft, you then want to be doing other things in terms of sim. So for instance seatbelt signs can go on, crew oxygen, the crew supply of oxygen would need turning on, and other little bits like we've got the emergency exit signs there, they'd need to be at least armed, and you'd also want to lock your door at the back there. Right, okay, you can hear that APU is now started up fully. The APU screen has disappeared and it says APU bleed. So as I said, it was either APU available or something similar, so APU bleed there to say that it's happening. Alright, so all we're going to do then is we're going to get the engine started. To do that then, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the fuel pumps left to right. All 6 of them there. Okay, that ensures that fuel will run to the engines. We're then going to turn the engine mode selector to ignition, and we're going to go engine 2. Okay, you can see numbers changing there. Let's try and get that a bit brighter. And then engine 1. Okay, it doesn't matter how long you wait, you can do these instantaneously together. Okay, but these engines will now spool up and you'll start to see the numbers change here. And basically what we're waiting for, so you see them here as well, what we're waiting for is this to say 19 at the top on both of these, and it'll have a little avail sign next to them to say it's available. There's the engine spooling up, you can hear that going now. A nice A320NX sounds. And there we go, so both engines are now available, and now what you see is the aircraft is ready to move. So I can now, if I wanted to, if I was going to go on an actual flight, I can shift and P to get the pushback, unlock the parking brake. It's important to note, if you unlock that parking brake, you need to have the brakes activated, otherwise the aircraft will start to roll forward due to the engines being on. Okay, so obviously, as I said now, I wouldn't want to move until this was available. It's saying different things like TCAS fault, and that's to because this isn't available yet, basically. Once all that's available, there'd be no faults displayed, and this aircraft would be started up and good to go. Alright, but I'm not actually going anywhere today, so I don't need to wait for that. Okay, but here we go, so we're now free of the taxi and we can basically start to move this aircraft. And that's it, that is the quick start done. Really easy, nice and quick. Okay, and the aircraft is ready to move, ready to taxi, and you could take off in this state as well. Alright, so I'll just quickly go over what we did there inside the cockpit. Basically we had external power available, so we turned on external power, we then turned on the batteries 1 and 2, we then turned on the 3 APU switches. Okay, we waited for the APU to be at 100% and available. Once that was available, we then turned on all of the fuel pumps, okay, and then we went to the ignition mode selector, which currently should be in normal, but I forgot to put it back, and then we set that to ignition. Once that's in ignition, you can turn on engine 2 and engine 1, and then once you're done, you just go back to normal engine mode selector and turn off the APU because it's not needed anymore. You'll hear the APU go off, you hear it spooling down there, and it will all be a little bit more quiet. But that's it done. That is the aircraft now ready to fly. You could take off in this state, as I said. That is the fly-by-wire A320NX quick startup complete.